Welcome, future medical professionals. Today, we are diving deep into regulation of kidney function, a crucial topic for your NEET biology preparation. The kidneys are master regulators, constantly working to maintain the perfect balance inside your body. We'll start with the basics, then gradually build up to the complex hormonal and physiological mechanisms. Get ready for an exciting 4-level journey from easy concepts to competitive depth. Let's kick things off with the easy level. We'll explore why your kidneys need to be regulated and meet the key players involved in this essential balancing act. Your kidneys are critical for maintaining a stable internal environment, a state called homeostasis. They meticulously control how much water stays in your body and how much is excreted, preventing both dehydration and overhydration. Similarly, they regulate the levels of crucial salts like sodium and potassium, which are vital for nerve and muscle function. This precise control over fluid and salt balance directly influences your blood volume and, in turn, your blood pressure. For example, if you're thirsty and dehydrated, your kidneys will work hard to conserve water, producing less urine. Two major players in kidney regulation are hormones. First, antidiuretic hormone, or ADH, also known as vasopressin. It's released when your body senses it needs more water, like when you're dehydrated. ADH makes parts of your kidney tubules more permeable, allowing more water to be reabsorbed back into your blood, resulting in concentrated urine. Second, we have the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, or RAS. This complex system kicks in when your blood pressure or filtration rate drops. It leads to increased reabsorption of sodium and water, helping to boost your blood volume and pressure back up. Time to test your understanding with a few practice questions. Remember to think about the key hormones and their triggers. Question 1. Which hormone is primarily responsible for increasing water reabsorption in the collecting ducts? Question 2. What is the main trigger for the release of ADH? And question 3. A drop in blood pressure would most likely activate which regulatory system in the kidney? Pause the video, answer these, and then check your understanding. Now, let's elevate our understanding to the medium level. We'll delve deeper into the specific mechanisms of these hormonal regulations. ADH release is finely tuned by osmoreceptors in your hypothalamus, which detect changes in blood osmolarity. If your blood becomes too concentrated, these osmoreceptors signal the posterior pituitary to release ADH. ADH then travels to your kidney tubules, binding to special V2 receptors. This triggers a cascade, leading to the insertion of aquaporin to channels into the cell membranes. These channels act as tiny water gates, allowing more water to be reabsorbed from the urine back into your bloodstream, ultimately producing a smaller volume of more concentrated urine. The renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, or RAS, is a multi-step pathway. It starts when specialized juxtaglomerular cells in your kidney release renin, usually triggered by low blood pressure or reduced sodium delivery. Renin converts angiotensinogen from your liver into angiotensin I. Then, angiotensin-converting enzyme, or ACE, primarily in your lungs, transforms angiotensin I into the powerful angiotensin II. Angiotensin II does many things. It constricts blood vessels, directly increasing blood pressure, and it stimulates your adrenal glands to release aldosterone. Aldosterone then acts on your kidney tubules, promoting sodium and water reabsorption, further boosting blood volume and pressure. Counteracting the RAS is the atrial natriuretic factor, or ANF. When your blood volume and pressure get too high, stretching the walls of your heart's atria, ANF is released. ANF acts as the RAS supponent. It causes blood vessels to dilate, increases the kidney's filtration rate, and inhibits the reabsorption of sodium and water in the tubules. Crucially, ANF also suppresses the release of renin, aldosterone, and ADH. The overall effect of ANF is to decrease blood volume and pressure by promoting the excretion of both sodium and water. Now, Let's tackle 5 medium-level practice questions. Take your time to recall the detailed mechanisms we just discussed. Question 1. Which part of the brain contains osmoreceptors that detect changes in blood osmolarity? Question 2. What is the primary role of angiotensin II in regulating kidney function? Question 3. Where is renin produced, and what are its main triggers for release? Question 4. How does atrial natriuretic factor, ANF, counteract the effects of the RAS? And finally, question 5. Explain how ADH affects the permeability of renal tubules to water. Good luck! Ready for a challenge? The hard level will integrate these systems, explore feedback loops, and touch upon clinical implications. The kidney's regulatory hormones don't work in isolation, they form a complex, interconnected web. ADH, RAS, and ANF constantly interact through intricate feedback loops to maintain perfect fluid and electrolyte balance. For instance, angiotensin II not only raises blood pressure but also directly inhibits renin release, a classic negative feedback. The kidney's ability to concentrate urine relies on an osmotic gradient created by the countercurrent mechanism in the loop of Henle. ADH then utilizes this gradient, making collecting ducts permeable, allowing water to exit and concentrate the urine. Both RAS and ANF directly influence blood pressure, with RAS raising it through vasoconstriction and volume expansion, and ANF lowering it through vasodilation and increased excretion. The juxtaglomerular apparatus, or JGA, is a key anatomical and functional unit in the kidney. It's where the distal tubule meets the afferent arteriole. JGA cells, specifically juxtaglomerular cells in the arteriole, produce renin, responding to low blood pressure or low sodium in the filtrate. The macula densa cells in the tubule detect sodium concentration and signal the JGA. Clinically, understanding these regulations is vital. For example, diabetes insipidus, characterized by excessive dilute urine, can result from either insufficient ADH or the kidneys not responding to it. Hypertension, or high blood pressure, is often linked to an overactive RAS, leading to the use of drugs like ACE inhibitors. Diuretics, which increase urine output, are used to treat conditions like hypertension and edema by interfering with sodium and water reabsorption. Integrated homeostasis is about more than just individual hormones, it's about how the entire system adapts. Baroreceptors in your arteries sense blood pressure, influencing the sympathetic nervous system, which in turn affects renin release. The kidney itself has intrinsic autoregulatory mechanisms, like the myogenic response, to maintain a stable glomerular filtration rate despite fluctuations in systemic blood pressure. This internal control protects the delicate filtering units. The interplay of these systems ensures that your internal environment remains remarkably stable, even when external conditions change. Let's test your advanced knowledge with 7 hard-level questions. Think critically about the interconnections and clinical relevance. Question 1. Describe the negative feedback mechanisms involved in the regulation of ADH release. Question 2. How does the macula densa contribute to the regulation of GFR and renin release? Question 3. Explain the primary difference between central and nephrogenic diabetes insipidus. Question 4. Discuss the integrated roles of ADH, RAS, and ANF in maintaining blood pressure homeostasis. Question 5. What is pressure natriuresis, and how does it relate to long-term blood pressure control? Question 6. Identify 2 specific actions of angiotensin II that lead to an increase in blood pressure. And question 7. How do diuretics generally work to increase urine output? Take your time to formulate comprehensive answers. Alright, future experts, prepare to tackle the hardest level. We are going to explore the intricate molecular details, comparative physiology, and even glimpse into engineering insights. At the molecular level, ADH's action is precise. It binds to V2 receptors on kidney cells, triggering a CAMP signaling pathway. This ultimately leads to the insertion of aquaporin to water channels into the cell membrane, making them highly permeable to water. The RAS also has sophisticated feedback. Angiotensin II directly inhibits renin release, a short-loop negative feedback. Furthermore, local factors like prostaglandins produced in the kidney can modulate renin release and renal blood flow, often counteracting potent vasoconstrictors. This intricate interplay ensures fine-tuned control over blood pressure and volume. The kidney's ability to maintain a stable glomerular filtration rate, GFR, despite fluctuating blood pressure is due to renal autoregulation. The myogenic mechanism is one part. Afferent arterioles constrict when stretched by high blood pressure, reducing blood flow into the glomerulus. Another is tubuloglomerular feedback. Macula densa cells detect changes in sodium chloride delivery to the distal tubule. If GFR is too high, they release adenosine, which constricts the afferent arteriole, bringing GFR back down. Nitric oxide, a local vasodilator, also plays a crucial role in balancing these constrictive forces, preventing excessive drops in GFR. Understanding these mechanisms is vital for diagnosing and treating kidney diseases. Kidney regulation varies widely across species, reflecting their environments. Desert mammals like the kangaroo rat have exceptionally long loops of Henle, allowing them to produce highly concentrated urine and conserve water efficiently. Freshwater fish, living in a hypotonic environment, excrete large volumes of dilute urine to eliminate excess water while actively reabsorbing salts. Marine fish, facing constant water loss, have kidneys that produce very little urine and actively secrete salts. In humans, advanced disorders like acute kidney injury, a sudden loss of function, and chronic kidney disease, a progressive decline, highlight the fragility of this complex system. These conditions disrupt electrolyte balance, waste removal, and hormonal regulation, often necessitating advanced medical interventions. The ultimate engineering challenge is to replicate the kidney's functions. Hemodialysis and peritoneal dialysis are life-saving treatments that filter blood using artificial membranes or the body's own peritoneum. Scientists are now working on wearable and implantable artificial kidneys, aiming for continuous filtration and a better quality of life. However, mimicking the kidney's complex regulatory functions, like hormone production and precise fluid balance, remains a major hurdle. Future directions include bioartificial kidneys, integrating living kidney cells to perform not just filtration, but also the full metabolic and endocrine roles of a natural kidney, offering hope for a more complete solution to renal failure. Now for the first set of 5 hardest level questions. These demand a deep understanding of molecular pathways, physiological integration, and comparative biology. Question 1. Detail the molecular pathway initiated by ADH binding to V2 receptors, leading to aquaporin II insertion. Question 2. Explain how angiotensin II exerts negative feedback on renin release. Question 3. Describe the myogenic mechanism of renal autoregulation and its physiological significance. Question 4. How does the tubuloglomerular feedback mechanism respond to an increase in GFR, and what paracrine mediator is involved? And question 5. Compare and contrast the kidney adaptations for osmoregulation in freshwater fish versus desert mammals. Pause here and give these your best shot. Let's move on to the final 5 hardest level questions, pushing your analytical and application skills. Question 6. Discuss the role of renal prostaglandins in modulating renal blood flow and renin release. Question 7. Differentiate between the causes and typical progression of acute kidney injury, AKI, and chronic kidney disease, CKD. Question 8. Explain the fundamental principles of hemodialysis, including the role of the dialyzer and dialysate. Question 9. What are the primary bioengineering challenges in developing a fully functional implantable artificial kidney? And finally, question 10. How does the macula densa detect changes in filtrate composition, and what are its 2 main responses? These questions are designed to challenge your comprehensive understanding of kidney regulation. That brings us to the end of our incredibly detailed journey through the regulation of kidney function. We've covered everything from basic hormonal control to complex molecular mechanisms, comparative physiology, and cutting-edge engineering. Mastering this topic is crucial for NEET and your future in medicine. For more such in-depth educational content, practice questions, and interactive learning experiences, make sure to visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for regular updates and more amazing biology content. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep aiming high. See you in the next session.